Alright guys, the international break is almost over and we are back with our weekly championship score predictions. Some big games coming up this weekend and I, for one, am glad that championship football is almost back. As always, I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Do leave your score predictions down there. 300 likes on today's video would be massively appreciated. And if you're not already, make sure to go ahead and follow over on the TikTok account. We are posting regularly on there at the moment. But without any further ado, let's jump into these matches. And kicking things off with the Friday match between Rotherham and Leeds. Now, as of recording, Rotherham yet to hire a new manager after parting company with Matt Taylor. They have had this window of the international break to use to scout out that new manager, but as of recording, they're yet to go ahead and do so. They will need to put a plan in place for this game against Leeds, as it is quite a quick turnover with this game coming up on the Friday. Now, we do tend to get a few shocks happening, especially after an international break, but I think most people would agree Leeds are the overwhelming favourites coming into this game. They have been on a good run recently, going against the Rotherham side who have been badly out of form and obviously currently, as of recording, are without a permanent manager as well. Now, there were some instances earlier in the season where Leeds did somewhat struggle against quite a tight and compact defence, thinking about how Sheffield Wednesday set up to frustrate Leeds earlier in the season, and how well Hull did at times to marshal that Leeds United attack as well. But you feel as if this is the sort of game where if Leeds score early, the floodgates could open. I do think Rotherham will keep it as tight at the back for as long as possible, but at the end of the day, I think that quality of that Leeds United front line probably comes through the test of Rotherham in this one. Score prediction here, I'm going to go 2-0 Leeds on the road and for all 3 points in that game. Then moving on into the Saturday matches. First of all, we've got Birmingham going up against Sheffield Wednesday, and surely Wayne Rooney has to be targeting his first win as Birmingham boss in this game. It's not been an easy ride for him so far. Worth mentioning that the fixtures do start to ease up for Birmingham a little bit after this international break, and Rooney will absolutely need to use that to his advantage because those first 5 or so matches just haven't been good enough from a performance or results perspective. Going up against the Sheffield Wednesday side, who had a disastrous result themselves before the international break, felt like we were starting to see maybe a few more positive shoots from Danny Röhl in terms of the overall setup from Sheffield Wednesday, but then they had that quite damning result against Millwall as they put 4 goals past them. It's now 11 of Sheffield Wednesday's 16 championship matches this season where they failed to hit the back of the net, and for all the faults that Birmingham have had recently, generally speaking, they've been quite good value for money at home. They've only lost 1 home match all season. I'm not sure I see Wednesday denting that record in this game. Score prediction here, I'm going to go 2-0 Birmingham and back Rooney for his first win as Blues boss. Next then we go to Ashton Gate for Bristol City up against Middlesbrough. Still getting to know what this Bristol City side will look like long term under Liam Manning. We got to see a little taster of them before the international break against QPR, but ultimately it was a bit of a drab affair really, and I think that Manning will probably benefited from having this international break, getting a bit more training time with the players to put a plan in place for what does look to be quite a tough first home match for him against Middlesbrough. Cracking result for Michael Carrick's side just before the international break, with one of the results of the season, beating Leicester City by 1-0. It's worth pointing out that Middlesbrough's away record of late has really been quite consistent. They are unbeaten in their last 5 away matches. Obviously, recently had that bonkers 3-3 draw with Plymouth, but other than that, have been pretty consistent. Defensively have been improving other than that 3-3 draw as well on the road. As we don't quite fully understand what we'll get from this Bristol City side under Manning right now, I think I'm slightly edging towards Middlesbrough and that pretty impressive away record they've had of late. Score prediction in this game, I'm going to go 2-1 Borough on the road, but I do see it being quite tight. After that, we head to Huddersfield against Southampton. 2 sides moving in very different directions right now. Huddersfield, who have really struggled in front of goal, especially of late. They've only scored 3 goals from their last 6 matches. Southampton aren't having such issues. They've been one of the most prolific sides in the Championship of late, having scored 11 goals in their last 6 matches, and they're also one of the form sides in the Championship. Now 8 games unbeaten, 3 wins on the bounce before the international break as well. All the indicators are pointing towards a Southampton win in this one, and while that's probably the way I'll go for this game, after the international break, and with the Championship being as unpredictable as it is, who knows, we could get a Huddersfield smash and grab here with a late set piece that disrupts the flow of Southampton. But are we going to get that? The odds are probably stacked against Huddersfield in this one. Just think that with the firepower, the confidence that the Saints have had recently, really seem to be snapping into a groove under Russell Martin of late. It was a big result for them before the international break against West Brom as well. And for a score prediction in this game, I'm going to go 2-0 Southampton and say they'll have control over that game against Huddersfield. Leicester against Watford at the King Power up next. Boy, have we had some classic matches between these two sides in the Championship in years gone by. And you know what? It is quite odd to say that Watford are the form team coming into this fixture. If we look at the Championship form table over the last 5 matches, Watford have accumulated more points in that time than Leicester have. Leicester coming into this game on the back of 2 back-to-back 1-0 losses. With that being said, and while Watford have been on a good run recently, we've pointed it out a few times, the games they've been winning and getting through have mostly been against sides in the bottom sort of third of the table recently, and coming out after this international break, the fixtures do flip a little bit for Watford, and I think it'll be throughout the month of December especially where we really see what this Villa and Ishmael side are made out of and whether or not they have what it takes to cut it with the sides in the top half of the table. Leicester not quite been at their sparkling best recently. They'll have had a bit of a break over this international break, and I just have a gut feeling they may respond here with a bit of a statement performance. I think Leicester have got some relatively decent fixtures to come, and I could see a winning run coming up on the back of 2 losses last time out. Score prediction for this game: for as good as Watford have been on this unbeaten run, I think Leicester may come in with a big performance here. I'm going 3-0 to the Foxes in this game. Next up, we head to the Den for Millwall up against Coventry. Now, Millwall fans were treated to probably their best performance of the season yet before the international break. A smashing 4-0 win away at Sheffield Wednesday in Joe Edwards' first game in charge. And Millwall fans won't want to get too carried away because of the opposition they were playing in that game, but the overall indicators were incredibly positive. They were looking to be as ruthless as possible. They didn't want to set up shop after they'd gone ahead and looked to sort of see that game out as they might have done in the previous Rowett era. And there are quite a few signs of optimism at Millwall for the second half of the season for what Edwards could potentially deliver. Now, I'd probably fancy Millwall's chances in this one. They are going up against a Coventry side who haven't been at it all season really. They're coming into this fixture on a 6-game winless run, albeit I do think there have been a few signs of encouragement from Coventry since they've shifted maybe to that back 4. Certainly in the second half against Preston, against Stoke, they had a few openings, but it didn't quite fall for them. With that being said, it does feel like Millwall with Edwards right now, after that Sheffield Wednesday result, may be riding the crest of a wave. And so for that reason, I think I've got to back them for a home victory. Score prediction here, I'm going to go 2-0 Millwall, which would be another cracking result. Next then to Norwich against QPR. Have to admit, a little bit surprised that it is still David Wagner in the post there at Carrow Road. I thought that regardless of that result against Cardiff before the international break, Norwich still would have made the decision to move him on. Having that international break is a decent window to find that replacement. It's not happened in the end, and Norwich right now seem to be in a little bit of an awkward position. With that being said, surely they'll fancy their chances against a QPR side who have been down on their luck recently. Now, Cifuentes, since coming into the job at QPR, 2 games, 2 draws, few more signs of encouragement, but ultimately scoring goals has been a major issue for this QPR side this season. They've got to fancy their chances to hit the back of the net at least once in this game against an Norwich side that has been so flimsy defensively, but QPR themselves really haven't been sharp in front of goal as of late. Just 4 goals QPR have scored in their last 9 championship matches. I think the biggest thing for QPR right now is the fact that Huddersfield are looking quite catchable. They've not been on a great run since Darren Moore came in. There's currently a 5-point gap between QPR and Huddersfield that QPR need to make up, and I think that if they're able to outperform Huddersfield results over this festive period, then heading into the new year, Cifuentes could be in a decent position if they've closed that gap or even overtaken them by that point. This game, honestly, I could see going either way. Norwich, a very unpredictable side. They've been on that awful run, but somehow managed to pull a rabbit out of the hat in that game against Cardiff, and I've just got a gut feeling that they may do the same in this one. I see this one being level for a lot of the game, and then maybe someone in that Norwich squad comes up with a last-minute winner. Score prediction here, I'm going to go 2-1 Norwich, but I'm not massively confident in that either. Next up we then go to Plymouth up against Sunderland, and I think this has the potential to be one of the most entertaining games going on this weekend. I'd back Plymouth at their home stadium to give anyone in the Championship a run for their money when they're properly up for it and on song. It's 6 goals Plymouth have scored in their last 2 home matches, and I fancy the goals to fire in at both ends of the pitch in this game as well. For as good as Sunderland can be going forward, there have been a few defensive vulnerabilities there of late. Sunderland have only kept 1 clean sheet in their last 6 Championship matches. I expect this one to be quite open, both teams looking to play on transitions, looking to take advantage of those wide men who have quality on each side. Score prediction here, I think I'm saying it's going to end level, but in an entertaining fashion. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, which certainly won't leave neutrals disappointed. Next then we head to Deepdale for Preston up against Cardiff. This one does feel like it'll be a very close match. There's only 4 points separating these two sides in the table. If Cardiff win this matchup, they will be within 1 point of Preston. Now, North End had been on a quite dramatic slide, but we managed to turn things around just before the international break with back-to-back wins. That one still quite sweet against Blackburn, the last-minute winner from Liam Lindsay. Hopefully we managed to take some of that momentum into this game against Cardiff, because I do see it being quite a tight matchup. Cardiff obviously had been on a decent run up until they had that slip against Norwich before the international break. More of Cardiff's points have come at home than they have on the road. Cardiff have been a little bit more hit and miss on the road up until this point, which should fill Preston with a little bit more confidence. With that being said, I think I'm sitting on the fence for this fixture. Score prediction, going to go for a 1-1 draw between these two. After that, we go to Stoke up against Blackburn. Now, Stoke unbeaten in their last 5 Championship matches, albeit their last 2 results before the international break were goalless draws. Now, because of the way Blackburn tend to set up, I would expect this game to be a little bit more open and free-flowing than the last couple of games that Stoke have been, ultimately ending a little bit drab in those goalless draws. For Blackburn, I mean, that one probably still does sting a little bit, losing late on against Preston before the international break, especially considering it was a relatively decent performance, I thought, from Blackburn. Got into some very good goal scoring areas, played some tidy football. Ultimately, what's let them down, or maybe a few times so far this season, is they're not quite as streetwise as some other sides, and I definitely think that Stoke could play into that in this game. Some of the characters that Alex Neil has got throughout that Stoke squad, I think, could really come to the forefront in this sort of matchup. It's the sort of match where I could see Blackburn having the better chances, but Stoke maybe just having a few tricks up their sleeve. Score prediction for this game, I've got a gut feeling that Stoke may sneak it, and get back to winning ways. Score prediction there, going to go 2-1 to Alex Neil's men. Swansea against Hull, I could definitely see being quite a tight affair, 1 goal either way, perhaps winning this one. Now, Swansea haven't been on the best of runs recently, just 1 win from their last 5 matches. It is worth pointing out that in their last 2 games they have gone down to 10 men, so we'll be looking to keep 11 on the pitch for this one to at least give themselves a fighting chance. For Hull, it was a good win before the international break, a late winner against Huddersfield. Really should have been a lot more comfortable than that, given all the possession and chances they had in that game, but ultimately there's nothing much sweeter than a last-minute winner. I think the first goal in this game will probably prove to be quite pivotal. On the momentum and quality side, I slightly favour towards Hull, and so that's where I'm going for this fixture, I think. I'm going 1-0 Hull on the road here. Very tight, though. And then, as the last game we've got to preview this weekend, it's West Brom going up against Ipswich, and this one I see being quite a good game of football, actually. West Brom have been on a really good run before the international break. I know they lost that game against Southampton, but on another day, I think could have got a result there. It was actually a decent away performance. Just didn't quite have the luck falling for them in the final third. I do think they'll give Ipswich a good run for their money in this game. Now, Ipswich have been on a almost flawless run throughout the entirety of this season. They currently boast the longest unbeaten run in the Championship. 12 games without a loss for Ipswich, just 1 defeat all season. It's absolutely incredible. Now, what you'd probably say is they have been a bit more gettable on the road than they have been at Portman Road, where they just tend to blow teams out of the water. 3 of Ipswich's last 4 away matches have ended level. I think that will give West Brom a little bit of confidence here that there are some avenues that they can look to exploit, albeit Ipswich are more than capable of hitting back and going punch for punch with pretty much any side in the Championship. With that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if this one ends level. Score prediction for me personally, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between these two. I don't think there'll be too much in it. Well guys, there we have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. If you did go in to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. Make sure to get your score predictions in the comments down below, and I'll see you all in the next one.